We actually talk about women's hockey a lot in our locker rooms, more than you guys probably think. But like, would you guys want to wear visors instead of cages, or is that something like? Because I think it'd be sick. Like personally, I'm like, I think that'd be cool.
It'd be cool until you got to meet us at the bar with our teeth knocked out.
We all want the same thing at the end of the day.
You know, my journey has been a long one.
It's hard to accept that the game didn't necessarily love you back.
You know, I'm a good person. I didn't deserve what happened to me.
Guys, I'm so excited to get to talk to you. Saroya, Ethan, Natalie, Luke, thank you guys so much for being here. As you know, Breaking Ice is a series about game changers and the trailblazers within the sport. You guys have all been able to tell your stories about who you are, your journey throughout the sport. And now today, we all get together and have this amazing conversation about what you've done so far and what still needs to happen in the game. Okay, let's take things to the very beginning. When did you know hockey is it for me? I live and breathe this. Where did the love come from for you?
I'll jump in here. I mean, my dad grew up playing hockey in Scarborough. My dad's black, my mom's white, and my dad never really played at a high level or anything like that, but he really just enjoyed the game and loved it, but unfortunately experienced a lot of racism in the game. But that made him want him to put his kids in it and prove people wrong. So I think my first love was skating, and then hockey kind of came down the road and have been in love with it ever since. Definitely wavered, but at the same time, that's how I fell in love with the game.
What were some of the conversations that you were having with your dad when he wanted to put you in the sport and talk to you about some of the racism that he had experienced through his time in the sport?
I think at first he was super excited. He knew that we could offer a lot to the sport, but at the same time, he didn't know when we were gonna have that first experience.
What was that first experience like for you?
I was around the age of 12 when I was called the N-word by my own teammate in the dressing room. And at that point, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. There was an adult figure in the room, but no accountability was had. And from that moment on, I mean, I had the conversation with my dad, and he just told me to put my head down and work. I think that that's really what I had to do. And I mean, it led to me having a wavering love for the game, but just put my head down and work.
Ethan, what about for you? I know that's something that you've experienced.
Yeah, I've had it growing up for sure. First time I played summer hockey, I had my teammates throw all my clothes and everything into the shower.
What?
And and I just basically sat there because I was the only brown kid, and my mom actually had to step in and say something for me, and she just explained to me what happened, and I just for the longest time I couldn't comprehend why. There's something about it they didn't like about me, and I never understood why. And for my parents, it was really hard on them. You could tell because they never thought, putting me in hockey that would happen.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to reiterate kind of what Ethan said. The locker room talk and stuff like that growing up was definitely really hard for me to listen to. And for me too, I mean, it started kind of when I was second guessing, my sexuality and stuff, going through puberty, stuff like that. Guys start to talk about, girls' bodies and stuff like that. And obviously the locker room talk, kind of became prevalent. And I didn't really understand it at the time. I didn't really know what was going on. But once I did start kind of doing more research and, learning that the things that people were saying weren't okay, that definitely made me not, want to play the game of hockey again. Just being in that environment where I didn't feel comfortable going to the rink every day.
Oh my gosh, it's so heartbreaking to hear and know that you guys have experienced moments like that. I'm going to bring Natalie in because we've not got to hear from you yet. What made you fall in love with hockey?
I mean, my parents moved from England to Canada, and they put all my older brothers, I have 3 older brothers, into soccer, but all the kids in Canada that play soccer seem to play hockey in the winter, so they all got into hockey, and I wanted to be just like my brothers. I thought I was going to play in the NHL, just like that was their dream. So I think probably the first time I fell in love with the game would have been playing in like the backyard rink with my brothers. And then when I was 11, I got to meet Jennifer Botterill, and I think that was really the moment for me that I realized like, wow, women do play hockey when they're older and win medals and get to do some pretty amazing things. And I saw myself in her and thought that, I could be like her if I keep working hard.
I find those moments to be so interesting. Like, I grew up playing ringette, and I love playing ringette. And I always stick to playing ringette because when my dad was like, you gotta play hockey, you gotta play hockey. But when I was young, I'm like, well, I don't feel like I could make a career out of this. It wasn't an option at that time, really. It was really not something that you saw very often. What is some of the conversations that the women are having amongst themselves in terms of trying to find that equality and to get that same spotlight that the men have in terms of turning this into a full-fledged career?
Myself being part of the PWHPA, it would be, to have a hockey league where girls can have actual careers. I think there's so many amazing women that are in our association that play also in the PHF, and a lot of them have to have jobs too, and then come to the rink at night to practice and go play games on the weekends. And I think it's about pushing for when they can live in Toronto and still be able to afford rent. It's expensive, so
Yes.
But make a livable wage. And, I think about when guys come out of university again, like they have probably 15 different leagues to choose from. You could go play in Europe, but there's the NHL, the AHL, the East Coast, the SP, like I couldn't even name them all. So I think, the more leagues that we can get up and running for women that, can give them these jobs, I say let's do it, because there's so many girls that do quit after university, and there's luckily there's a lot of university teams for girls to play on, but it's that next piece, and I think that's the next big thing that needs to come is we need to have more professional leagues, more places for girls to keep developing, and I think it's going to take women's hockey to the next level because girls will be able to focus solely on hockey and get the training hours they need every day.
I couldn't agree more. I think that obviously we have PWHPA, PHF. I think that these are sustainable leagues and environments for girls to play, and we do need more places to play. These men have infinite possibilities, and I think that these girls graduating out of school, they need to see that representation piece, and they need to be able to dream to be that after university, and that they can have a whole career. They can make a sustainable living wage. They'll have healthcare benefits and whatever else it may be. And I think that we deserve that same level of respect as the men get. We're professional athletes. We dedicate a lot of our time to training and being the best at our craft. And I think that we are fully deserving of making a living wage and being highlighted in the same ways that the men are.
Absolutely.
I actually have a question. We actually talk about women's hockey a lot in our locker rooms, more than you guys probably think. But would you guys want to wear visors instead of cages, or is that something because I think it'd be sick. Personally, I'm I think that'd be cool.
It'd be cool until you got to meet us at the bar with our teeth knocked out.
Yeah, I guess so. I never thought of that.
We always had that conversation too, when we had our old league, but we had no dental insurance, so they were going to try to make us wear visors, and we were no, this is not happening. If we don't have dental insurance, we're not going to lose our teeth and then not be able to afford.
I guess I never thought of that perspective, but
I mean, it's good to know that. Yeah, it's good to know that you guys are talking about women's hockey in the locker room. That makes me happy.
It is an honor to sit down with you girls and hear this stuff, because for me, it's very educating. And I have a 15-year-old sister who's coming up in the ranks, and I know she looks up to you guys, and she knows who both of you are. So it's really educating for myself to know what girls hockey is really like, and it is hard, to play women's hockey and make a really good living, so you can honestly afford rent in expensive cities that most of the teams are in. And honestly, I think that was really cool to hear, because I'm gonna share this conversation with her, and so she could watch it. And honestly, for me, that's why I support it. I think women deserve to make a good living out of hockey and to get the exposure, because at the same time, you guys are elite athletes too, and honestly, I think this conversation is very very important for me to be a part of.
Luke, what's your take on women's hockey and where it should be and where you'd like it to be in the future?
I think women's hockey should be right up there with men's hockey. I mean, Saroya and Natalie, you guys are doing such amazing work. The awareness that you guys are spreading, the message that you guys are sending, it's getting around. And I think from a male perspective, and I think Ethan can agree on this as well, we're behind you guys' back 100%. We want you guys to succeed. We want to see you guys do well. achieve your dreams and your goals. I skated with the women's national team. The skill level of those players was unbelievable. I mean, probably half of those players could play in my league. I mean, they're incredible hockey players. They're incredibly smart. And they get taken for granted too. I mean, they've been playing this game for a long time and they don't get the credit that they deserve. They put in the same amount of work as us, same amount of sacrifice, same amount of time, if not more. And just because they're women, they don't get the spotlight as much as men, which is sad to see. But again, I think with conversations, with accountability, and continuing to grow the game of hockey, that the women's hockey will start to shine through and get the spotlight that they deserve.
It's so cool when you can get a bunch of people together that your paths cross and you're all doing different things and all have these really interesting, unique stories. What would you guys say is a common thread that unites you all?
I think one thing that all four of us have in common is that we had to have that internal conversation with ourselves. I mean, for me, it was coming out. If I had to have that conversation with myself, if I wanted to go public, if I wanted to truly be who I was, live authentically, if hockey was going to accept me, stuff like that. I mean, those conversations are definitely not easy. I mean, I had to have one for a year. But yeah, that's something I think that people, that don't have to have those conversations take for granted because they don't really know how hard it is. We want our career so bad. The game of hockey means so much to us. So thinking about not playing it or thinking it might get ripped away because of who we are, it's terrifying.
That's a great answer, and it leads me into what my next question was going to be, and that is when the game maybe doesn't love you back the way that you want it to, and you have those moments of wavering. Am I going to continue doing this? What am I getting out of this? When you were having those moments and considering walking away from the game, what did life look like for you without hockey in it?
For myself, I think the reason I never ended up quitting was because, one, I'm not a quitter, and I couldn't bear to let myself quit something. And I mean, I knew I was good at the sport, so why wouldn't I? But at the same time, I had many dark moments in my life where hockey was just routine for me. I would just show up at the rink, headphones in, do my job on the ice, and leave. And I think at that point, everything just kind of becomes black and white. There's no fun left in it for me. And in that sense, I think I had to regroup and find a new love for the game. So in those moments, it's definitely tough. And I mean, I didn't want to go on the ice some days, and I didn't want to be with my Yale team every day, or commit those 40 hours a week in college to being with people that didn't necessarily accept me and love me for who I am. So in that sense, it's super hard when you have a wavering love for the game. But at the same time, I'm not a quitter, and we had to push through and find a new purpose in playing.
I can relate to that. I've wanted to walk away from the game many times, especially in my early pro careers. Like sometimes I felt like I wasn't getting treated equal from other teammates because it's such a competitive sport, and sometimes you feel like a coach doesn't like you and you're getting stuck in the spot, and it's easy. Like the easy road is always to give up and to want to walk away. But for me, it was a lot deeper than that. Obviously, like I wanted to prove to other First Nations kids that like if they work hard enough, they can do it. And I didn't want to be the first player who has this opportunity and to throw in the towel early. And I just for me, I always think of the next generation, and I always think about my grandparents. Like they the ones who have passed on. I believe they're up there watching me, cheering me on. Rooting for me to keep going, and no matter what. And that's just one thing I've always think of is I sacrificed so much to be where I'm at today, and giving up. And it's easy to say, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I think sometimes you just need to look at the bigger picture, and then like the hockey part, the love for the game will always be there. But when you're fighting for your spot and to get to the next level, because it's so competitive, and everyone's always just worrying about themselves. It's easy to think nobody cares, but at the end of the day, you have your family. There's a bunch of people even at home where you're from that are rooting for you. So I think that was a big reason why I keep going, and then I want to be able to share my story. When everything's said and done, to tell people this is what I've been through, and that and no matter what I do in life, like I'm always gonna have that that resilience in me and to keep going and no matter what, then that's what's kind of hockey's kind of taught me, and that's what I want to kind of educate other people about.
Ethan, I grew up as a big Oilers fan, so I was always watching you play, when you were in Edmonton. But seeing, the reaction, of that play against in the playoffs, the reaction that people had was horrible. The comments that you were getting, I couldn't imagine, the emotions you were having in that time. But I think, the post that your partner put out it gave me a sense of, that people are behind you, not just your family and friends, but people do really want to see you succeed, and that there's still good in the world, good in the game of hockey, again, and people do want to see you achieve your goals, achieve your dreams, and be who you are when you're doing them. So I want to thank you for that.
I think, just being able to see it's super inspiring. I think that obviously I will never understand anything that you've gone through, but to know that you have so much strength within you, and even just hearing you now, I can see it. I can, see how much you've had to overcome, and just to know that you persevered, I think is the most inspiring thing, and that you're still in the game and you're such an amazing player in the game. So I think that, that's really cool, and that, you were able to share your story, because that's yours and you have that, and that's going to inspire so many, little girls and little boys that we're hopefully going to see in our game too in the future. I got to play with Bridget Laquette, and, she's an inspiration, and I hope that, we see many more, Indigenous players in our game because of you guys.
When I saw that and seeing you speak up, I realized the power that we have as professional athletes. We hold so much power. People want to hear our opinions. They want to hear what we have to say. And in that sense, you hold that power, and you're able to vocalize your opinion, and you're respected or disrespected because of it. But at the same time, you are able to use your voice and use your platform for good. So as inspiring as it is, it's many other things along with inspiration.
Ethan, what's your reaction to hearing them talk about that and how your story has been able to affect them?
Honestly, it's very heartwarming. Honestly, like it's, when you could do something like that, you're honestly you're very scared, to be honest. Like you don't know how it's gonna come back against you, and but like the biggest thing is just being honest and being truthful, and that's all you could do about it. But when I think back at it, sometimes I can't even believe I did that. And, it's something that, when in the moment I knew I had to do in order to protect myself and me as a player and me as a person. And it's, like I said, like I didn't just do it for First Nations people to stand out. I don't want everybody to stand out, because I know everybody goes through something, and there's some things that, people are afraid to admit they go through, because they don't want to go through the backlash or the hate. And it's, it was probably, I always say this all the time, it's probably by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And and at the end of the day, I'm very glad I did it. I had a good support group around me, and it makes me happy, because now I could support other people when they speak up and be there for them.
Yeah, Ethan, I completely agree. Not having role models and stuff like that as a gay kid was definitely hard for me playing hockey. There wasn't someone like me who I could look up to, who was kind of my hero. One thing that kept me going when I was younger, and coming through my coming out process, but it still keeps me going now, is the impact that my story has on people. I remember waking up one day in Calgary. It was just another regular day, and I got a notification. I saw it all over Twitter that one of the American Hockey League broadcasters, he came out, and when I was reading his article about his story, he mentioned me. And I was like, boom, that's the reason why, I did what I did, was, not only for young kids, but he was probably, I think, not to age him, but he was like 10 or 15 years older than me, and he had been struggling with it longer, than I have. So being able to give that kind of confidence and ability for people to, think it's okay to come out, it's huge for me, and it's definitely one of the reasons why I continue to play the game of hockey.
All right, so we've been able to have This amazing conversation, this sometimes uncomfortable conversation, and you guys have been putting in so much work to change the game. But for somebody that's just watching this, what do you want them to take away from this, or what's something that that person can do to help make hockey better?
Learn how to be an ally. I think in that sense, we should be able to hold people accountable in the hockey community. And moving forward, I think that it's going to be important to be holding those people accountable from day one. I think that these things are things that are learned and brought up with in terms of raising a kid. And I think that if we implement these programs, this accountability, this family-like atmosphere from the beginning, we won't see as many boys club atmospheres in the dressing room, or needing to have all of these uncomfortable conversations, because people will be inclusive right from the very start.
With women's hockey, it would be challenging people to get out and watch the game, buy a ticket, support us, go watch a women's game, because you're going to be so surprised just how good the game has gotten. Watch us when we're on TV. Just show that support, whether it's on social media or at the rink. That's going to help us be able to get the platform and the growth that we need to get our game to where we want it.
You're right there. Like, I have a little sister who's 15, and she dreams of playing women's hockey just like them, and she looks up to these girls and the Olympics and all that. So, you know what, like, honestly, I think any way we could grow women's hockey, I think that's a win for everybody. And honestly, just being open to what we're saying. A lot of people don't realize what kind of happens behind the scenes, and how people can just say something randomly and think that it's not going to affect the person. But honestly, I think just kind of talking about it and bringing that conversation forward really can just kind of shed the light and kind of educate people on what we're actually going through, and not, it's not just it's not like you're doing something for fame or for publicity. It's just like, this is actually what we deal with, and in order to play the game, and honestly, just to be yourself, to be honest. And sometimes it's hard to step out of your comfort zone and be vulnerable like that, and I think a lot of people really appreciate that. And honestly, I just try do my best and be honest and tell the truth, and when somebody asks, and to not to be upset or and just to be understanding of others. And sometimes people have never experienced what we've had to go through, and yeah, that's just how I do it.
Yeah, Ethan, I completely agree with what you said about continuing to have these conversations. I think one thing I want to kind of leave you guys with is I'm a big quote person, and one of my favorite quotes is "What if it could be better than you can imagine?" So I think if we're ever thinking about an important event or important story that we think that needs to be shared, I always think back to that quote, and I think, what could become of sending that story out, sending that tweet out, in a positive way. I think as humans, we're always, we're kind of trained towards the negative, but that quote brings me back to the positive, and being able to spread awareness, spread information as much as we can, and continuing to do that will not only make the game of hockey a better place, but for ourselves, it'll continue to make our platforms grow and become the role models that we already are, and continue to grow that as well.
Well, guys, on behalf of everybody here, we all send a big thank you for participating in this, for having these conversations, for being open and honest, and just having this open dialogue. We really thank you guys for doing that.